Welcome to the dimecomicbros podcast. We don't have a tagline yet, so don't keep listening for one. I am Spencer. I'm going to be co-hosting with Jacob. Colin is MIA today.
Apparently, we're allowed to have girlfriends with this side project / other job. Nobody told me that, so...
I think you might need a little bit of help on that one anyway.
Yeah. So anyway, to Colin's girlfriend. We love and miss you. I mean, granted, I've only met you once, but... I mean, you seem pretty cool that first time, so I hope you two are having a great time today.
And you put up with Colin. That you're a soldier for that one.
Yeah. So on with the news.
So we're going to go in and get the one bad piece of news done with. A bit of a somber note. As of last night, actor Chadwick Boseman, who portrayed Black Panther amidst many historical figures, a lot of biopics and period dramas, passed away due to his private battle with colon cancer. He was 42, just seemingly passed away, and then his family made it known that he had cancer and was battling it for the past 4 or 5 years and didn't tell anybody, and continued making visits to the hospital for kids with cancer and taking their letters and writing replies and stuff like that. And it's just really wholesome, keeping all of that on the inside, and it really makes all the nitpicking that people did about hey, he looks tired today. Ooh, he's doing this salute and he doesn't look excited. Does he hate his fans or whatever? It's guys, recontextualize that now. That's nitpicking and it's gross. He was obviously doing a phenomenal job for what he was going through.
Yep.
And the internet has seemingly died overnight. Everybody on the planet, on every platform I've seen, has been commemorating his passing. So 2020 sucks.
Also, I just learned that you say it biopics instead of biopics.
Yeah, it's not biopics. Nope, don't do that. So the past week has been fairly, I wouldn't say slow, but lighter in terms of news and lighter in variety.
We're just going to get this out of the way now that all the news in this episode is about the great event, the first in history, DC fandom.
So we're going to go vaguely in chronological order. So the newest full-length trailer for Wonder Woman 1984 was revealed, which also revealed the quote-unquote in-costume look for the film's antagonist, Cheetah, which looks like Cats, but not bad.
Whoa, that's possible?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it looked too bad. The face looks a little janky, but obviously there's still quite a few months of post-production left. And it was only a few frames, wasn't too much. Continuing more of the same, which isn't a bad thing. They're not showing too much of the frickin' movie, which is good. Looks very vibrant in a good way. Not too much, but it is very bright and very 80s. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm sick of COVID pushing movies back and just being teased and teased and teased with movies that are supposed to come out. Just freaking release them already, and we'll push through the COVIDness.
I definitely remember watching all of the Doritos bags and Mountain Dew bottles that had advertisements for, hey, this is coming out in, I believe it was May or June, and then those are still in stores now. That's such a weird thing to note, but it makes me slightly sad. But you got to do what you got to do. I believe they're nearly done with post-production, and unless I'm drastically mistaken, it's slated for November. So
all of our summer thrillers are going to hit right before Christmas.
Could be worse. I mean, the Christmas season kind of turned into a second summer anyway once Star Wars started coming back. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So the second piece was an animated teaser trailer for Black Adam. It was just Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson doing voiceover over some really nice animatics. Common internet consensus is it doesn't seem like The Rock understands that Black Adam is a Shazam villain, which is really funny, but maybe they're just avoiding that fact for the sake of creating its own story, which is probably a good thing. The movie will apparently include the original Justice Society of America, consisting of Dr. Fate, Hawkman, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher, which is pretty cool. I'm interested on how much revisionist DCEU history they're going to put in there, but... Right. The Rock wearing a black and gold outfit with no cape, because no capes.
No capes!
Yeah, it was just a short little thing. It was cool to hear The Rock talk over some cartoons, basically.
So do you think that they're keeping it separate from Shazam just in case it turns to crap like, I don't know, half of DC movies do? I mean, like, they don't want to bring Shazam down with a crappy movie, so...
Potentially. There is a little bit more news on Shazam 2 towards the end, but... they might be doing that. He's been teasing a lot of, hey, potentially we could cross over with Superman, and Henry Cavill also seems interested in that potential, so maybe they're doing something there. Maybe they're just trying to make him more of the anti-hero that he's kind of become in the past few decades and give him his own story, because he was as The Rock keeps saying, he was the first to say the word. He was that original, or quote-unquote original kid to get the powers of the wizard Shazam. I'm expecting a lightning bolt effect right now. Every time I say it, Jacob in editing.
So, if he was the first Shazam,
he was the one that went bad.
Who's the superior Shazam?
Obviously, Shazam, because
I think I've been watching too many Transformers with Ultimate and superior.
I mean, one would assume he's better at his job because I believe he was actually an adult when he got the powers, or at least older. He wasn't, like 14, 15, like Billy Batson was. But also, now he's going up against the entire Shazamily. It's not just Billy. It's Billy and all of his siblings who all have equal powers, so...
Shazamily.
Yeah.
That's a new word. Just like COVIDness.
Very true. Next topic, next point of news. So the trailer and a 8-minute gameplay clip for Gotham Knights was released. It is a co-op-based story with light RPG mechanics, but can be played alone and offline. There was an official summary released as well. Quote, Batman is dead. It is now up to the Batman family, Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin to protect Gotham City, bring hope to its citizens, discipline to its cops, and fear to its criminals. You must evolve into the new Dark Knight and save Gotham from chaos. Your legacy begins now. Step into the night. Yeah, see, I'm actually kind of excited for this, as well as the fact that they're doing so much Court of Owls stuff, which... we all know Bruce isn't actually going to be dead. He's going to be brainwashed. He's going to be a Talon. That's just going to be a thing. There's no way they're going to be like, no, Batman actually did die. But the big, I wouldn't say controversy.
Listen, buddy, I read Batman Damned.
But the big kind of controversy around this thing was that it sounded like, by a lot of the leaks, to be a sequel to Arkham Knight. And the teaser had a lot of connective tissue with Arkham Knight, but also a lot of stuff that differentiates it, as well as a general tonal shift in terms of like color palette and music and stuff, which it doesn't look bad by any means. I'm actually kind of excited for the slightly more upbeat tone.
The gameplay seemed like it was brighter than the Arkham games.
Yeah, they officially confirmed it is not a sequel to Arkham Knight and is in its own continuity, which is good in the sense of like making something different, but also why would you make the setup almost identical to the end of Arkham Knight without like expecting people to be confused?
Well, I'm also confused about Red Hood being in it.
What do you mean?
That Red Hood's usually anti-hero instead of hero, I guess.
I believe in the trailer you can see he's using stun bullets of some sort, or rubber bullets or whatever.
So I just don't know if that would be part of the reason they made it separate from Arkham Knight.
That is true.
Red Hood was kind of the villain.
That is true, but towards the end of the game, when he fully went into the Red Hood persona, he did help. But that is a good point. It just, general tonal shift. Apparently, this was the plan from the beginning, and the leaks were just incorrect. So I'm actually quite interested in the whole co-op based. This looks like Marvel's Avengers, but better, honestly. But
yeah,
it's not necessarily my type of game, but there haven't been a lot of them that have been good. And it does look graphically impressive.
I was waiting to unleash that point between that and a later announcement, but I don't know. I'm nervous about this and the later announcement, both being co-op based, but you can play alone. It just doesn't really sell me because I like playing my video games alone.
Right.
Because I have no friends.
Yes, but
Give me Witcher 3. But anyway,
but also like co-op games are cool, but the fact that they're trying to sell it as both is a little odd.
Right. And like I put a lot of hours into Destiny 2 alone.
Ew.
And I know. I grew up and matured and became a man and got past it. But anyway, the point is, I just don't know how much I trust them when they say that it can be played alone.
They literally said you can play the game offline.
Yeah, and they said that about Anthem, and they said that about Marvel's Avengers, and they said that about... Oh, what's the other one before Anthem? I don't remember. But there's been a whole bunch of...
Did they say that about Anthem? I don't remember that one.
I'm pretty sure.
I know they said that about Avengers, which does seem a bit weird, because that does seem to be a lot more of a multiplayer-based game.
Extremely. Like, it has the Marvel Ultimate Alliance mixable supers.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really do that without a friend and a microphone.
I mean, in the set, I get that, but also from the perspective of there are only 4 players for Gotham Knights. You only have the 4 characters, which apparently have very different character progressions. You can play through the entire game as one character if you so decide, and you can switch through the 4 of them at will at the new hideout, which is in the Belfry, because the Batcave got destroyed.
Sounds like a Lego game to me.
But they all have like their own separate paths, which is cool. And the sense that there's only 4 in that sense gives me some confidence that it's done well without excessive, microtransaction-y bullshit and such. More so than
I'm nervous.
I would say I'm hesitantly optimistic.
I really hope that both these games turn out to be awesome.
I must say I do really like the more neon aesthetic they're going for on top of the darkness. Like it's... So if you have the Arkham series, which is somewhere in a animated series but super edgy, which was kind of the point, and then they threw on a little bit of neon on top of it towards the end, I feel like this is just cranking that part up to a 15 while still keeping the darker undertones. It's not like the buildings are clean and nice and pretty. It just has more highlighting. You're playing as young adults between like 16 and 25, one would assume.
So wait a minute, if this game is a 15, does that make Arkham Knight an 11 with the neonness?
Yeah, I'd say probably an 11.
That's fair.
And City is 10, and then and Origins and Asylum are right where they should be at a 7.5 in terms of neon.
Right, not actual game quality.
No, game quality is a whole other conversation.
Discussion.
So we're going to move on to the next topic because we could probably talk about that forever. So The Batman is confirmed to be on its own Earth in the multiverse with no Joker in its own universe at this time. It is officially confirmed to take place in quote-unquote year 2 of Batman's career, so he's kind of on rough terms with the cops, and not all the criminals know he exists yet. He is an actual myth. It's partially happy to hear this, that they're not going to start retconning other movies into it. They're not going to shove it in somewhere.
Yep.
And there doesn't sound like they're planning on connecting it to the multiverse. Like, it's in it, and it's part of the DC cinematic multiverse, but you don't need to actually explore anything in that facet.
I like that they make movies that don't need to be connected to anything. Like, they can be, but just whatever. Let it fly by itself.
Honestly, my largest concern was, please don't try to retcon Joker into this, because there was a thing going around. It's like, this could theoretically work in the sense of they look to be taking more of the Wayne family might have been involved in Gotham's corruption angle sort of deal, but the timeline doesn't sync up, and then they just debunked the thing entirely that there isn't even a Joker yet, so leave it alone.
Perfect.
So the first teaser trailer for The Batman was released.
And how many times did you watch that on release night?
4 times on the night, which was directly after we recorded.
I was going to say,
week.
I was there for 2 of your viewings.
Yeah, I did it one more time.
You didn't look like you were going to stop.
I did it one more time with Colin, and then I did it one more time when I got home.
Did Colin have a big wet spot under his seat, or was it just in his pants?
I think it was just in his pants. He was sitting down, which helped keep it more contained.
He made me very uncomfortable during the first viewing with his bodily language and motions. So
guttural moaning.
Also, it's kind of fun dumping on him when he's not here.
Also true.
Colin, this is what you get for having a life.
Anywho, so the general, I wouldn't say general, the overall reception of this trailer via the internet is astoundingly positive. Seems to be the biggest takeaway from this entire event, which I don't disagree with, but I have more important things on my plate, but that's just me.
Also duct tape.
Yeah, the duct tape, the memes that are coming out of this thing are great. So the trailer was really freaking cool.
Yeah.
I like. I'm not going to try to give a summary because if you're listening to this and you haven't watched any of the stuff we're talking about, what are you doing?
Also, I mean, I can forgive them because I'm like that. I don't want to know. I want to know what happens when I'm sitting in the theater.
Fair enough.
Crying my eyes out because it's so beautiful.
I'm really, 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 really into the red and black aesthetic they're pushing in terms of color grading and the marketing stuff being very red and black. It's unique. It's a different color palette than the movies usually do. And it just feels right.
Also, I saw an opinion piece. I forget who wrote it or where, but they said that it was very, very dark in that it was unlit. It was very hard to see.
I saw that too, but I really didn't agree with that at all.
No, I didn't.
Maybe the depending on what like re-upload you're watching, the color might be off, or maybe your TV's down, but.
Or phone.
I watched it on a phone and 2 separate TVs, and I had no problems. There's a couple of shots that are certainly dark and hard to make out, but those are the very obviously intentional ones.
Also, that's where the Easter eggs are.
Also true. So you got to turn the gamma settings all the way up. Yeah. It's like when you're playing Minecraft and don't want to bring torches.
You know how the Hulk was created? Gamma settings, baby.
Oh my goodness. Just a couple of thoughts that I had when I was watching it was I'm really, really down with the music that Michael Giacchino is composing for this. I think it was the third listen through. I started picking up on what I think is going to end up being the specific Batman leitmotif right at the end of the trailer. I did like a couple of note motions in front of Colin, and he picked up on it. And I'm really liking the musical tone that it's taking. The fact that it's very much so a mystery is freaking sweet. And something that I thought I might just be reading way too into. Usually you hear, in terms of Batman, you hear vengeance and justice thrown around a lot, kind of interchangeably.
Right.
But they aren't the same thing.
Right.
So everybody, some other meme stuff is like, he said, I am vengeance. He didn't say, I am Batman. He seems to actually be like brutal as hell. Not killing people, but like he does not care. And it seems like that, based on some interviews, is potentially going to be an arc of him learning to work with people and be less of a symbol of fear or more like one-man tyranny sort of deal.
Yep.
So, he said, I am vengeance. And then later they talked a lot about justice. It came up a few times in the voiceover. So it sounds like there might be a dichotomy between those two opposing ideas. Do you have any more thoughts on the trailer? Or?
Nope.
Okay, I have a quote from an IGN article. During his panel at DC Fandom, the Batman director Matt Reeves was asked how the future HBO Max GCPD show, that's a lot of letters, GCPD show will tie into The Batman. The idea of this story was a story in which Gotham, which has this depth of corruption, and the idea that we could do a series that is going deeper into an aspect of it, which in this case is the corrupt police department, the corrupt inner workings of the city, said Reeves. And the way we're going to do this series, Terrence Winter, who is going to be the showrunner, is an incredible writer. So the idea that we just got him to do this is just a dream. The idea is we go back to year one, and year one is the beginning of the first emergence, the first appearance of this masked vigilante that starts to unsettle the city. And you start to see the story through the POV of these corrupt cops, and one in particular, and the story is going to be a battle for his soul, end quote.
Told you, damned.
What? No.
Battle for his soul?
Not Batman's soul, it's about the cops.
Oh.
Goofball. I really like the idea that they're going to have Batman on like the outskirts of this, meaning they're probably going to have some shadows, and that's it. Like, they probably couldn't afford, honestly, to have Robert Pattinson film a lot of stuff for this series as a prequel. That'd be a little weird. So that sounds appealing to me. It's not going to be entirely, hey, it's a Batman prequel. It's a Gotham prequel, not Gotham, which was half Gotham prequel, half Batman prequel.
Well, now I'm properly confused.
Many words. Rest in peace, Gotham, forever in my heart.
Also, at work, I heard a couple of people say some really nasty things about the actor portraying the Batman, and they were pretty much writing the movie off because of the actor. And I was like,
dude,
did you see the trailer though? It looks cool.
Yeah,
So what if he was a sparkly vampire?
literally a decade and a half ago, and he regrets that decision more than anything else. And he's come out and said that like every year on the year. I hated doing that, and that was a stupid way to start my career. I mean, and he's been doing indie films for ages,
right.
Proving he has insane acting chops. Speaking of acting chops, this Batman is so emo. I'm very into it. Eyeshadow, like the whole thing. They're not removing the eyeshadow between shots of the mask coming off and putting it on. Like the eyeshadow's still there. It's a minor detail, but none of the other ones did that. It's just, hey, cowls off, new shot of the face. There's no eye makeup.
You were harping about eyeshadow before the commercial came out.
Yes, because there was...
Is this something I need to know about?
Colin, come pick me up. I'm scared. It looks to be very, very sad boy.
Well, now your girlfriend knows what turns you on.
No comment. So next topic, we're going to go into The Flash. Apparently, Ben Affleck's Bruce Wayne will build Barry Allen a new suit for the Flash movie, which seems to be a repurposed idea from some of Zack Snyder's original plans. That was supposed to be a thing, like the quote-unquote time travel suit that you see in BVS was supposed to be made by Bruce Wayne. So it sounds like they're going to kind of repurpose that. And Jim Lee, who is the CCO of DC, confirmed Ezra Miller's Flash got his name, The Flash, from Grant Gustin's Flash during Crisis on Infinite Earths in 2019, which is cool because it means that that scene that we saw in that really abysmal crossover is canon, which is neat. It was neat, but also that's kind of lame at the same time. That, hey, I got my superhero name from another version of me that already had the name. That just, I get it, but it feels a little silly, which is weird to say, hey, in the same sentence as time travel, that I'm saying getting a name from another character is silly, but I don't know, that just feels off. I like this Flash way too much, so.
I didn't see anything about Flash in 2019 on any kind of media, so.
Yeah, I think it was during the third or the fourth episode out of the 5-part crossover that was the TV versions of Crisis on Infinite Earths.
All CW, I'm assuming.
Yeah. But they had camp. This is where like the idea of the cinematic version of the multiverse came from, is like what DC's doing now kind of was sprinkled in then. Like the old versions of characters are all canon. Superman, the Superman Returns version of Superman is in that crossover, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was a really interesting scene in the sense that it showed that the CW can film like it's a movie and have lighting like it's a movie, but they choose not to. Because the scene was like, hey, this looks like a real DC movie. And then it just shows by stark contrast that they like their cheap teen melodrama look. So that's
I'll have to find a review or summary on YouTube.
I would recommend it. Some parts of it honestly weren't that bad. There were some cool parts. It's just some of it was really, really disappointing. Alrighty, on to the next piece of news from DC Fandom. The Suicide Squad's cast and their villainous roles have been revealed, along with a behind-the-scenes reel showing off the actors in their uniforms/costumes in action. And the release date was announced as August 6th, 2021. Holy shit, they have a huge cast. So many of them are going to die. It's going to be awesome.
All right. So please make the differentiation for me between this one and the shit one.
The shit one, nobody died that you think, like, everybody was safe. They all had plot armor. Obviously, because you have Harley Quinn, and you have Deadshot,
yeah,
and you have Killer Croc,
yeah,
and Captain Boomerang. All really big people that almost never die and have franchises potentially waiting.
Hey, you forgot the babe.
Which babe?
Enchantress.
No.
Yes.
Why are we talking about Enchantress right now? You have all of those people waiting that you know aren't going to die, in addition to just the whole thing that went down with that movie. But this one has a cast of, it's like 16 main characters, including a few ones that we know that are going to survive. Like Harley Quinn is going to be fine. And probably Captain Boomerang. And then you have like Amanda Waller. A few of the characters are obviously going to have some plot armor, but so many of them are B to like Z-list villains, like, Polka Dot Man and all sorts of silly stuff. The Thinker being played by Peter Capaldi, which is just brilliant.
Wait a minute. Ezra Miller was the Flash in Suicide Squad?
Yeah, there was a cameo in there, which was filmed by Snyder during Justice League, actually.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, he captured Captain Boomerang robbing a bank. Because he's a
maybe
Flash
I remember
villain.
that.
It's good you don't remember most of that movie. That's a good place to live.
I try to forget it.
Yeah.
So, is this one related to the one in any way?
It's a soft sequel, meaning it's a standalone sequel / half reboot. It's in continuity, but what DC's doing is de-emphasizing continuity these days. So it's still technically a sequel to that.
It's about freaking time they figure out to de-emphasize continuity.
Yeah, it's a sequel to Suicide Squad and Birds of Prey and the fantabulous emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I said it right.
Boards of Prey.
Boards. So it's a sequel to both of those, technically speaking, but it's a soft tonal reboot for the Suicide Squad series of films if they want to keep making more. But yeah, it was described as a 70s war flick with super silly supervillains and stuff.
So how is it a soft sequel to the one
if it's
going back in time?
It's not literally in the 70s. It's like a 70s war movie.
All right.
Anywho, the cast seemed really excited about this. It's got some really big names. Actually, most of them are really big names, and most of them are gonna die.
Yeah.
And also, there's more King Shark. King Shark is great, so I'm very on board with this. And the new Harley Quinn outfit looks phenomenal, and I'm really digging that one.
Cool. I haven't seen any of the promotional stuff for most of the stuff. I'm happy to be surprised in the movie theater. Also, she looks better as not the Enchantress.
Yes. Drastically.
That's no surprise. But
I don't find her terribly attractive, but also, yeah, good margin. They also digitally made her even thinner in the movie.
Ew.
Yeah, it's weird. Well, it's one of those weird things that the studio does. Next piece of news. So the Snyder Cut of Justice League. Jacob, I only have 2 pieces of news. Give me a break.
You've referenced it twice already.
Yes. Well, references are natural. I also referenced a lot of other things.
I know.
It's confirmed to be coming out as 4-hour-long episodic segments.
4-hour-long segments?
4-hour-long segments. Which I believe they said weekly, but I might be wrong on that. And will be getting collected at the end as a film, just to watch in one sitting. And will be getting released internationally via some other distribution service because HBO Max is not international at this time.
You've pre-ordered the 4K Ultimate Edition of this, haven't you?
They didn't put it up, otherwise I was going to. I'm assuming they're going to wait to do anything physical until it's already been out and been collected as the movie on HBO Max. Then they'll start selling it.
So you have to wait 2 years for that.
Shut up! I've already waited long enough. I'm fine. I can keep going.
I'm fine. This is fine.
It's fine. As long as I can watch it, I'll be good.
I wish I could insert memes into the video
that'd be hilarious.
on YouTube because it would have the dog in the burning building saying, "This is fine."
Yep.
Someday we will become a professional show, and I can do that.
the international bit, is nice just because so much of the Snyder Cut fandom is international. Most of it is international. So the fact that they're hey, we're still gonna put it out there. Also, there's more money to be made by not just leaving it for North America, but the slightly less cynical answer of hey, we're gonna make it so people can actually watch this. So the first official trailer for the Snyder Cut was released. Do you have any thoughts on this thing? Because I know you watched it at least once. Probably just the once.
Just the once. I was over your shoulder as, again, you were making very inappropriate bodily motions.
Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those up.
No, I don't really have thoughts. I thought it was kind of, not ironic, but kind of in joke to play Hallelujah as they were showing it off in the trailer.
There's a couple, I actually have some points on that.
I know you do. But I just thought it was funny because that's what the fans were singing as they watched it.
That's an understatement, but yes. I actually don't have a whole lot of thoughts because most of it is expounded footage we've already seen before in smaller segments. It's proving, hey, these scenes are a real thing, not just a couple of frames.
Wasn't there one time that you were like, oh, that was Zack Snyder? That was in the original release of it?
Yeah, it was the Atlantean bubbles. Something that wasn't talked about until the end of last year when the Atlanteans talk in Justice League. They talk in a little air bubble. Mera makes an air bubble and then they talk in human speech. It was just really odd that I was like, that seems weird, and they certainly reshot some of that, but I don't remember exactly how it came out, but the director of Aquaman and then Zack Snyder were talking both kind of at the same time, and they're like, hey, the way that they did it in Aquaman is purely what James Wan wanted to do. Zack did something entirely different, and like that's cool. So I was like, oh, no, he did do the bubble thing, because he's just like, this is just easier. Just make a little bubble so they can speak English, which I think is what you're talking about. Was probably
so. I lied before. The only thought that I do have about it is shock and awe that they didn't James Bond the role for Amber Heard.
Yeah,
and,
that
a certain unnamed person in our group had some provocative, inappropriate comments about that, which shall be left unsaid.
That is very true. He was very aggressive about that. I don't disagree with any of the thoughts he had, but yeah, retrofitting somebody out of a movie is harder than it looks, and screwing it up even more is probably a bad idea. Just leave it be. So I don't have a whole lot of thoughts. I like the fact that we actually saw inside the Speed Force. That's really cool, and it looks very visually different than any other version of that we've seen before.
Speed Force, that's like the Triforce, but different, right?
Yes.
Cool.
It's Flash Triforce. I really liked the end tag after the title reveal. That Batman having a little speech talking about fighting us united. That was something that kind of got snuck out there by Zack ages ago. We slapped it on a T-shirt, like it was a whole big deal, and now we kind of understand why. That's really nice.
As if you were there to slap it on the T-shirt.
Dude, do you actually want to see my receipts on how much money I put into this whole campaign? And I can show you my conversations with like quote unquote big heads in it. I can show you my receipts if you want them.
Keep your receipts to yourself.
Fine. Don't balance my checkbook. The thing honestly that got me, aside from like all the cool stuff, was the reuniting of Lois and Martha and Clark on the farm. Really hit me in the feels, because I really like that romance, and I love this version of the Kents, and that gave me all the feels.
So that's why you were crying?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. The apocalyptic technology, it looks to be like more defined now with this version, which I thought was kind of cool. You can see the armor.
Yep.
The spiky, the armor and a lot of the weapons and all of the quote unquote like growths in the third act, like the parts of the mother boxes that shoot out and are like doing all of the terraforming, all have a very similar design. They're metallic, and they kind of have. I really don't like saying Transformers-esque because that sounds bad, but like they have like a constant motion to them, and they have an orange glow on the inside. I really like that look. That's just a personal preference thing.
Sure.
But I thought that was kind of cool. And then the music thing, immediately following the live stream of DC Fandom, Zack did a panel with a bunch of fans and explained the music choice. He basically picked it out 2 years ago. Pretty much what he said was that it's important to his family for various reasons, which I'm sure we can all piece together why. Yeah, so he already had that in mind ages ago, and now it just has a double meaning, because that's what lots of people were unanimously screaming. And also it just works really well, in my opinion. People were giving him way too much like flack. Like people were targeted, like this human being doesn't deserve to use this music, and he's horrible. It's like, what are you guys doing? It's personal to him. What's wrong with you people? Leave him alone. Like, and people start sending replies that are like, hey, this is why it happened. And people are like, yeah, I still don't care. It's important to his family for personal reasons. My gosh, leave him alone. I did have one correction to make from last week. When I said that the title was quote unquote changed unofficially or officially, I wasn't exactly right. It's confusing. I think it's still up in the air, because the hashtag changed, like I mentioned, but the title of the trailer on the HBO Max YouTube channel is for Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. I'm assuming they just haven't decided what it is, and they're not super concerned about it, because everybody knows what it is.
And if you're confused, that means the rest of us are totally lost.
In this category, yeah. So just so I can keep my professional ass covered, I was incorrect on that one because I wasn't watching it. We watched it live last week. I wasn't watching it as the YouTube clip version.
Speaking of, did we get any hate mail this week? Because I was really looking forward to that.
No, we didn't get any mail this week, which is really disappointing. If you would like to send us any mail, hate mail, love mail,
I
memes,
want your hate mail.
Memes, anything, or just questions, or just spam us, send us an email at dimecomicbros@gmail.com. We will probably answer that email in about 5 seconds because it's new and we haven't gotten any mail yet.
Also, just send us a dank meme because
yes,
I love those dank memes.
Yes. Next piece of news.
Ooh, news.
We got a trailer for the Suicide Squad game Kill the Justice League, which is going to be a 2022 next-gen exclusive. Apparently, this one is a continuation of the Arkham series, which multiple things say that doesn't make sense because the timeline doesn't make sense because King Shark is dead in the Arkham universe.
When was he killed?
I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but like
what good are you?
Also, Deadshot has race swapped because the African American version of the character is infinitely more popular at the moment for various reasons. Also, who gives a crap? But
Will Smith.
Yes, but because of he was in the comics well before Will Smith played him, but that version has been far more popular lately. But in the Arkhamverse before this, Deadshot was white. Various just other things like personality differences, and Harley seems very different. But the developer came out and said, "Hey, no, this is a continuation of the Arkhamverse." They didn't say where in the timeline it is or whatever, but the tonal difference is weird, and the fact that it's about killing brainwashed members of the Justice League makes me stupidly confused why this is in the Arkham universe. I'm really confused. This is also going to be a co-op based story game, but can also be played alone and offline.
I won't believe it till I see it.
Also, yeah, I thought the trailer looked pretty neat, but the fact that all of the squad members that they're showing are like the A-listers that aren't gonna die is a bit disappointing. Like the thing that makes the Suicide Squad unique is the fact that basically all of them can die at any given moment. But when it looks like the team lineup is gonna be Captain Boomerang, Harley Quinn, Deadshot, and King Shark, who are all really big names, they're not gonna kill any of them. So where are the rest of the squad members that are gonna die, or are we just making another team out of supervillains that isn't unique at all? That's just kind of lame. But
yeah,
the trailer did look pretty good. I'm getting a little tired of the evil Superman trope, and that says a lot coming from me because I like my evil Superman.
Mm-hmm.
But it looks like he's being brainwashed by Brainiac. There we go.
It also kind of felt like they took their inspiration straight out of The Boys.
Kinda, yeah. I don't know exactly how, but I did get that vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the thing.
I watched the gameplay for Gotham Knights, and that felt very, very similar to the Arkham games. I didn't see any gameplay for Suicide Squad.
There's no gameplay yet. It's just the pre-done cinematic.
Yeah, the story trailer or whatever they freaking call it.
Yeah, the memes coming out of it are pretty good.
You and your memes.
Yeah, me
and you don't share a single one.
Well, some of them are really, really
I
stupidly.
thought you were my friend.
Well, people get pissy when I start sharing things more than 2 in a row, so I stopped sharing for 3 weeks straight.
I literally begged you when I got off Reddit to share memes.
This is true.
Daily.
Anywho, next topic, which is the last piece of news and the last thing from DC Fandom, the sequel to Shazam is officially titled Shazam: Fury of the Gods. I believe we got a teaser poster, which looks cartoony as hell, and it just has the Shazam-ally, nothing exciting on it. It is going to be released on November 4th, 2022. Same director, I believe the same screenwriter as well. Cast is staying the same, so cool. I really liked Shazam, like a lot.
I'm kind of confused why they did Fury of the Gods as the subtitle, because that is a fairly popular free-to-play game on Steam right now.
That might be why. I mean, that, and it is a fairly god-based product like a lot of DC. I'm sure it has plot relevance. That usually does.
It's not the game I was thinking of, but it is an actual game on Steam.
I just find it funny how it's Shazam with an exclamation point, : Fury of the Gods. It's funny to have that. It's still a part of the name. It's odd. So this was neat. This was like the end of DC Fandom. It was at like 11 o'clock at night. Nothing crazy because it's well out in the future. I believe they're going to start filming at the end of this year. Like most things are finally getting back to filming pretty soon. Did you watch Shazam?
Yes, I did.
Did you like it?
I didn't mind it. It was good. There was some choppy CG that kind of brought it down, but...
Yeah, I mean, I did a lot of research because David F. Sandberg, the director, is an ex-YouTuber. Well, I mean, he still does YouTube videos, but like he was a YouTuber and then he made a short film and that launched his Hollywood career. So he's very down to earth. Like he just talks to people on Twitter about filmmaking stuff, and he still makes like how-to videos on YouTube. And he explained why some of the CG is a bit jank in some spots because the type of environment they had to work with, and like it was kind of cool. Yeah, a few of the jokes didn't land for me. There are like 2 that are going to be dated horribly, but past that, I liked the old school family movie vibe, like a Labyrinth. Like there's a bit of spook in here. It can be surprisingly dark, but also it's pretty goofy. But also like, hey, this scene is very intimidating out of nowhere. Like that sort of stuff you don't really get in family movies anymore.
I was thinking of Hand of the Gods.
Oh.
The Smite spinoff.
That's weird. Huh. So do you have any thoughts on this Shazam sequel?
Nope. Ready to see it.
Okay. Well, that's the end of the news.
Well, there you go.
So, what have you been reading this week, Jacob?
Well, for our listeners who aren't part of the group chat and haven't been able to hear me bitching about it for a couple of days now, I read a near perfect masterpiece that I was very excited to talk about. I wrote a whole entire 1 full page of notes about it, okay? And that's asking a lot out of me. And then Colin announced that he wasn't going to make it to the show, and I need him for this one book because he will probably know more about it than I do after having researched it.
Yeah, probably.
I think our listeners can figure out what it might be.
At least Colin knows what it is. At least he knows what it is.
He shouldn't know. I mean, he can make a guess. So anyway, in the last 2 days, I've been crunching something to read that I can talk about. So I bought Dark Souls: The Breath of Andalus.
What?
It is a 4-issue, I guess you could call it a trade. It's pretty freaking small. I think it's only like 120 pages or something. What? Yeah. It is the first first run out of 5 Dark Souls. It's produced by Titan Comics, and I had no idea that there was a Titan Comics in existence, so I went to their website and found out what else they write. They do a whole bunch of Assassin's Creed comics, Blade Runner 2019, and Bloodborne, and about 100,000 Doctor Who comics.
Those Doctor Who books are actually pretty good.
And also Tank Girl, which was the only one that I really recognized as like not being...
Are these Dark Souls books canon? Does it canon?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I did a lot of research.
I really like this art.
It is... Stop breaking my review apart,
Sorry.
Alright? Oh, look. The next topic. The artwork is beautiful. But while researching it, I tried scouring the internet to find a professional review of any of these books, and nobody talks about it. Buddy Vidya, if you're out there, please read these comics and tell me how you think. So I ended up on Goodreads.
I love me some Goodreads.
Some opinions. And a couple of people said that it was too colorful and vivid to be a Dark Souls world. But I didn't mind it. I think it's the right amount of color. Like it starts out in a crystalline labyrinth, and the crystals look spot on, a nice shiny blue with plenty of shadow.
Shiny.
So, after having done about an hour and a half of research on it this morning, I found that there's very little lore in it. Brief summary on it is that it starts with a warrior on a revenge quest for the death of her compatriots and family. The warrior and her companion are on the search for 3 magical gems or things.
Are they by chance called the Cimmerils?
No.
Oh.
Trying to revive Andalus, a worm, also known as a dragon, who will revive the first flame. They also call it the flame of life. If they kill the worm, his breath will reverse their hollowing, but if they just revive him, they will stay hollow, but it will rekindle the flame. So at the end, spoilers and stuff. This book is probably between Dark Souls 2 and 3. You can kind of tell that by her being hollow. She's got like this greenish effect to her skin as she's turning more and more hollow through the story. And also the other hint saying it's between 2 and 3 is that the other main character, her companion, is a squire named Aldrich. That name should ring a bell. Get it? There's not much else explaining who he is, but Aldrich is probably the lord or a lord of Cinder in Dark Souls 3. He's the founder of the Church of the Deep. He's the weird worm-like looking thing.
I really want to go play Dark Souls now. It's been a while.
I had that same feeling this morning when I was reading the lore.
They were on sale too. I don't have my copies anymore, but they were on sale for like 75% off a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't buy any. I'm not wise.
That's a missed opportunity right there.
I'm a missed opportunity.
So, having edited out all the spoilers on the spot, besides all of that lore and story, Sunbro makes an appearance in the first issue as kind of a boss or a mini boss. Some other thoughts. It's weird that the main character Fira throws her sword in combat like at least once in every issue. It was really weird. She seems wicked OP, killing almost every enemy except bosses in one hit.
Which for the Dark Souls universe is definitely weird.
Yeah, and she only dies once. So, professional gamer right there.
And she's a gamer girl.
Wow. In conclusion, I really don't know how to make a good Dark Souls comic. I didn't know what to expect when I picked it up. I was like, well, it's on the shelf. It's cheap. I'll try it. So it feels kind of tough to pick it apart and say they did this wrong, they did that wrong.
I mean, because Dark Souls is I wouldn't say loosey goosey by any means, but it is very vague in its meaning with a lot of things, and a lot of it is negotiable to some extent.
Right.
So it is.
The game can be played without knowing a single thing about the story, and it's like whatever.
Right, but it also
if you
has
dig into the item descriptions and whatever else, you can find out
stupid deep lore. So that's
exactly.
Definitely
so how
difficult
do you squeeze
to
that into a comic?
Right, like how do you make a narrative out of a game that doesn't not have a narrative, but it has a confusing and non-linear weird narrative.
So there's this first page right before chapter 1 with a huge exposition dump, and I read it and said, wow, I don't know what that was saying, and turned the page and read the story. But I kind of just filled it in with what it meant with this last paragraph. Like, besides that, there isn't a whole lot of lore. It just turned out to be kind of a generic fantasy story that ran too long and ends up being kind of boring, and especially with the flat ending. So other people online said that the other ones were better, so I will try to hunt those down and get back to you.
I didn't even know that there were Dark Souls books. Now I'm going to go buy all of them.
Also, I want the Bloodborne ones.
Oh boy, that's a bit scary.
Yeah,
I really did like Bloodborne. Honestly,
yeah.
You can negotiate. You can like argue it's a worse game in terms of like polish,
No.
in terms of like the way the skill progression is. But
all right,
because it's an outwardly offensive game versus the rest of the Souls games, and Demon Souls are defensive games for the most part. Yeah. So that and Sekiro are just very different, and I like that. But they're all still, quote-unquote, Souls-like. I just went on Goodreads because I do that, and I noticed you gave Batman Damned a surprisingly high score from what I expected.
I did 4 out of 5. I would have done 3.5, but they don't allow half stars.
That is really annoying, honestly. I
rounded up because of the artwork.
That's fair. I just remember, even at the end of our conversation last podcast, you're like, I like it more now.
But it was still...
But what the hell's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I saw them like 4 stars. Like, that's
all right,
that's
you got me. I'm hopeful that the next book, because there's going to be a next book, answers our questions. And it will make Batman Damned a beautiful story.
Hopefully. We don't even know if there's going to be another book. Shh! There might not be another book. It might just be done.
Stop it. Shut your stupid mouth.
Okay.
So what have you been reading?
I only got to finish 1 book this week, so we're tied.
Yay,
I meant to do more, but just stuff got in the way.
Also, Colin loses by default.
Yes. But we're all losers here.
No.
Yes.
No.
Who's
we beat Colin.
So I read the 2nd volume of the 2016 Doom Patrol run, which I talked about previously, and we discussed. So I picked up the 2nd volume, which is issues 7 through 12. It is the conclusion of that arc. It wasn't a super long run. Still written by Gerard Way, and pencils still by Nick Darrington. I think this is actually a stronger book than the other one by a lot. The ending, I would say, is a bit weak. I wasn't sure if they didn't know the book was going to be cut so short, or they would have like planned a more conclusive ending. But it did seem a little bit of a small ending. But that's just kind of the way things go. I still really, really like the art. The narrative is much clearer now that we're out of some of the loosey-goosey territory of the first couple of issues.
Yep.
So, yeah, art is still on point. Characters are really, really fun. I like the expansion that they've been doing, and it's basically... like, there's a corporation, which is a front for various entities that I won't get into because that's a spoiler, from other parts of Doom Patrol history, and they're releasing this addictive substance you can add to food that makes everything better, and it tastes better, and it's better for you.
Sounds like Doritos.
It's like Dorito powder. I believe it's called but like with all of the what are those, the markings you use when you use like $sign and $sign when you're like censoring out curse words,
expletives,
whatever that term is. That's
cartoon
what the
swear words.
That's what the name of the product is. It's really funny. And it's a big old plot. Like it's a scheme, and I can't really get much further into depth without getting into really heavy spoilers. But I really enjoyed it. It was I took less time than the first one because there's one less issue, but it's less janky in terms of narrative. It's much clearer. The characters are already set up and explored, so you can get more into the narrative more so than character setup and getting accustomed to people's personas. So I really like that.
I mean, you said after you read the first volume that it was a very rough start, and that's what Colin and I didn't get past. So basically, it seems like this story is just a ball that had to get rolling. Before it got good.
Yeah, I still don't know if you guys would like it anywhere as nearly as much as I do, but I do think it's worth a read if you do have the willpower to get through the first 2 issues or so. That's honestly all I've been reading. I meant to have a lot more, but then I got busy and depressed. Alrighty, so moving on to what we've been watching this week. I'm gonna start because I can. Colin's not here, so I don't want to linger on it, but I watched all of Adventure Time Season 7. I'm like halfway through Season 8 right now. The first half of Season 7 is Stakes. It's a big vampire miniseries. I loved that so much. There's also a crossover episode with one of the other versions of that planet, because we don't actually know if Oo is Earth or not. Probably is. But like there's a crossover episode with a different version of the characters, and that was really cool. The concepts are getting bigger, which I'm liking. The general topics it's approaching are far more heady. That just appeals to me. So that's been cool. And the comedy picked up a bit from last season, which I mentioned that I didn't like. It wasn't as fun. What have you been watching?
I finished the leftover 10 to 15 minutes of Transformers: War for Cybertron: Siege.
Whoa.
Because allegedly it's supposed to be a trilogy of seasons, and Siege is the first of the 3. Didn't really change my mind on it. I mean, it's still good, and I still plan to watch the other 2 seasons. Definitely left off on a cliffhanger, and I'm ready to see more.
Lovely. I watched the OG Superman movie.
Christopher Reeves.
Yes, I was feeling nostalgic and said screw it. I have 2.5 hours to kill.
How was it this time?
It held up very well.
Really?
It might just be because I have an appreciation for practical effects, but I think most of the effect work holds up if you keep in mind what it is doing, and less so how it needs to make a one-to-one comparison. You compare Superman flying for the first time in this movie versus you go with the first flight of Man of Steel. They're drastically different.
Oh yeah.
But they also serve different thematic purposes. They're not supposed to be a one-to-one. The first time Superman flies in this movie is very short. It's mostly in shadow. It's just a little thing. He jumps across a room. But it's supposed to... It symbolizes something different, versus Man of Steel is supposed to focus on the raw potential and power of, like, the choice that he has. So it emphasizes different things, as well as just how technology develops. So you don't need a 5-minute long epic sequence going across 5 different continents.
Right.
That's not necessary. So I think most of the effects were pretty good. Some of them did not hold up well, but I think the stuff in Smallville when he's in high school was surprisingly good. Something that I noticed more now that I've gotten older, Reeves really swaps personas. When he's going between his Clark Kent persona and his Superman persona, it is so different. Like, the body language is entirely different, which is obvious. Like, he's a bit of a cartoonish goofball.
Right.
But he's intentionally making himself so inconspicuous. Like, he literally winked at the camera one time. I didn't remember that.
I don't remember that.
Stared into the camera with the corner of his eye and was like, mm-hmm. It was really funny. So I like that difference. A lot of Supermen these days, which I do prefer this version of them kind of not being the same, but being, I don't know how to describe it, but modern Superman doesn't always feel like it's 2 very different sides.
Right.
It's a disguise more so than a different personality.
Yep.
This one feels like he's intentionally crafted such a strong personality. Like, if you compare him as a kid in Smallville versus him as an adult, the Superman persona is basically what he is, not the Clark Kent persona, versus in other versions, I wouldn't say it's inverted, but it feels more like Superman is what he himself is aspiring towards, but he's kind of putting on a show almost for himself in that way, and Clark Kent is the far more down-to-earth part.
I think you can especially notice it watching the Henry Cavill version of Superman. Is like, when he's playing Clark Kent, he's
basically just himself.
A big dude, and well made up and dressed nice. Like, he's not slouching. He doesn't look like a dweeb.
No, I think that the one detail I didn't realize until somewhat recently, the reason he wears, aside from being growing up in Kansas, so he has a different taste in fabrics. The reason he wears a lot of twill and tweed, the thicker, more rough fabrics, is because that actually does it helps make him look bigger, but in a way that makes it look like the clothes are making him look bigger. I'm not entirely reading into it. I did check. The costume designer said something along those lines of, if you have him wearing fairly not tight-fitting, but a lot more slim-fitting stuff and a lot more jeans and white dress shirts, he's going to look as big as he is. But if he's wearing more of rough, darker, earthy tones, the way that it looks like he's bigger, because the fabric takes up more space, but it feels like the fabric is doing more than...
Less rounder.
Kind of
smooths out the...
Right. It's a weird way to describe it. Without getting into color theory, but something like that. It's him being quieter and more like himself, and then Superman isn't faking by any means, but it's him pushing himself for whatever he's striving for, as well as for everybody else.
Yep.
Versus the Christopher Reeve one is for the most part, yes, he has internal conflict, but like he's basically Superman, and then Clark Kent is literally a disguise. Like he switches over entirely. The hair is different, the eyes look different. He has different body language, different tone. And it's a really good performance in that way, and I didn't pick up on as much of that when I was younger. That really stuck out. Something that I thought was kind of worth discussion in comparison to the whole modern Superman interpretation, the Kents are barely even in this movie, which isn't a bad thing, but like this whole super idealization of the Kents, like, no, Pa Kent is this big thing of virtue. It's like he's literally in 2 scenes of the movie. He is in the scene where they pick him up as a baby, and he's in the scene where he dies.
Yep.
He has an impact. It's a very strong role, but like, dang, don't tell me that, you know, the Kevin Costner version is so much so lacking. He has 4 times as much screen time and actually has more development on the plot.
I never thought the Kevin Costner version was lacking.
No,
I thought he played it perfectly.
I actually think that's his best role because he's had a really rough career because he's not a great actor. Kevin Costner is not a great actor.
You obviously haven't seen Silverado.
I didn't think that was that good. I mean, aside from Robin Hood, that was just phenomenal because it was worthy of
Robin Hood because you get to see his stunt double's naked ass.
What? No. Gosh. Anyways, just something I was kind of picking up on is the whole, you know, all of the, well, like, Superman doesn't have conflict, or like, is, you know, the Kents always made him do stuff. It's like, no, the scene that Jonathan Kent is in while he's about to die is like, hey, don't go flaunting your abilities all over the place. Those are for a purpose. We don't know what that purpose is yet, but like, chill out, dude.
Yep.
Like, that's basically what all the modern versions do too. Why are all of the modern versions giving so much crap? I don't usually say things are nostalgic for the sake of being nostalgic, but holy cow, people are really nostalgia blinded by this movie. It's ridiculous. And I honestly don't like the choice of Lex Luthor as the first villain. Not because it doesn't suit the movie. I think the performance is pretty good, even though it's obviously a big, goofy, over-the-top villain, which is good. I do prefer the, like, dealing with the quote-unquote domestic problem of Zod, which is funny to say domestic because it's technically the international version.
Interplanetary.
There you go. The whatever.
Interplanetary.
Oh my gosh. But it always feels more thematically sound to like have that be the first major adventure of him, like, intentionally choosing humanity over his own kind, versus Lex Luthor is like, why do you want to stick around with humanity after this asshole does his thing?
Yep. Because
he's kind of just proving the point that all of this country or this planet are just like really crappy crony people. So I find that a little odd, but it was good. It doesn't feel as over the top and goofy as I remember. Now being an adult, and maybe it's just because I'm not paying as close of attention and trying to be nitpicky, it doesn't feel like, it's not this golden goofball of a movie. Like, yeah, it's got some silly stuff in it for sure, but
yep,
it appeals to basically everybody for a reason.
So are you gonna watch the next 3 after it?
I will be watching the next 4 because I'm gonna watch Superman 2, and then I'm gonna watch Superman 2 the Donner cut because it's better. Yeah, and then I'm probably gonna watch Superman Returns because I actually kind of like that movie too. And technically, it's the sequel.
That's the next 6.
Yeah. Just slowly, no real rush, just filling time. I haven't watched them in quite a while. What else have you been watching?
I am about halfway through the 2nd season of Umbrella Academy, and I would like to take this moment to say, Colin, you were wrong. That is all.
As someone who I believe said that last time when I watched it, I will back you up. Colin is very wrong and needs to watch it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't really have thoughts on it. It's good. I'm enjoying it. And
gotta go save JFK.
Yeah. And while we're at it, we gotta save the president.
I need to save John Fitzgerald Kennedy.
Fitzgerald?
Shut up. Was that me doing a bit because Diego stutters, or is that me stuttering? That's the question.
Oh, that's deep. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. and I think it's really good. And I can't wait for them to make season 3 because I tried reading that book and I was so lost.
See, book 3 is
Hotel.
It's Hotel Oblivion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah. I didn't get it. I haven't gotten into that book yet. I've read the first 2 and I really liked those.
Yeah, I did too.
The tonal difference is actually kind of strong.
Yep.
Like it gives you a similar vibe, but the tone of which it approaches it is different. I'm also definitely looking forward to season 3.
Maybe next week I will have better thoughts on it.
Maybe we can convince Colin with our fists that he needs to finish watching it.
Only you are allowed to fist Colin.
I think I need written permission by for that one. And then another thing I've been watching, which I watched yesterday when I went to the theater.
The theater.
I do want to throw a small little thing in there that our theaters, some of our theaters have opened back up in the area we're in. Just as a little disclaimer, the one that I went to has really, 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 really good protocols at the moment. The place is spotless. There is actual proper social distancing and people are actually following the rules.
That's because they made it a drive-in.
No, I didn't go to the drive-in. Nope. I didn't go to the drive-in. One of the theaters I go to is a drive-in right now, and then the other one has opened up. Like the proper Cineplex has reopened back up. They're doing a lot of reruns as well as the very few new things. But I feel like that was
theater.
Kinda, yeah.
A lot of reruns in
the
2 movies that have finally freaking released.
Pretty much. I figured a small disclaimer of like there are a lot of people, I wouldn't say major publications, but like some larger talking heads in like the discussion community are like, we probably shouldn't go watch things right now, which is valid, and especially those areas, which is like inner cities where the cases are still really, really bad for sure. But, you know, here we're doing pretty good in terms of numbers, and, you know, we're doing fine. So I went to the theater and watched 2 movies yesterday, one of which is the main topic we'll be talking about in a minute, and the other one is Unhinged. It's basically Road Rage the movie. I wasn't expecting much, but the antagonist is Russell Crowe, and I really, really like Russell Crowe, so I was intrigued.
Road Rage the movie, are you referencing the video game where you can
drive
motorcycles and hit people with chains and kill them?
That atrocious game that had 2 sound effects?
Dude,
yes.
I was like 2 years old playing that with my dad.
Oh, that thing's so bad.
That was like one of my first gaming memories.
Ew. My first gaming memories were playing like edutainment games. Those were better.
Oh, yeah. Chex Quest
Frogger.
was also one of my first gaming memories.
That was okay.
They've re-released it like in Unreal Engine 4 or something.
Oh my gosh, that's weird.
Dude.
That's whack.
It brought out the feels. I'll try to find the video for you.
Yeah, so basically it follows this woman in the middle of a divorce who is living with her brother's fiance and her son, and it's just, she basically honks at this dude in traffic, and it turns out that this dude is a murderer who kills, like the opening of the movie is him committing a couple of murders. It's a B movie. It's 100% a B movie, but I would argue it's a very, very good B movie, at least to my liking. So he basically tortures her for the rest of the day by various accounts. Like he steals her phone at a gas station and then leaves his phone in her car. So they're talking the whole movie. There's constant communication. He like plays Russian roulette with her contacts list on people to kill. I was very impressed with this.
How do you learn the password to her phone?
She didn't have one. It was a point in the movie.
Freaking idiot.
Yeah, her kid literally told her that because she was like, hey, I nearly killed myself trying to unlock my phone while I was getting like the GPS out while I was driving. So she took the thing off of her phone. In terms of that, I thought it was actually a very tight script in terms of like setup and payoff. Everything was pretty meticulous to my knowledge.
Here's an idea. Don't drive and check the GPS. Pull over and then check the GPS.
I mean, yes, but also it is set in, I think, LA. It's set in a city. I don't remember which one. It might be No, it's New York. It's New York. Definitely New York.
Or memorize the next few steps and pull over at a Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay,
because there's one on like every other block.
Anywho. Point being, he torments her over the next day, and they have a big face-off at the end.
face off like Nicolas Cage and John Travolta?
No, more like Laurie Strode and Michael Myers, sort of deal. So
like a literal face off.
Yeah, so I'll just my summary is pretty much what I put on Letterboxd for my review. A technically well-made, well-performed B-movie. Fantastic special effects work without a hint of VFX in sight. The characterization is light and a bit clunky, but the script is strong in structure and never took me out of the gripping experience.
What's a Letterboxd?
Letterboxd is like the current film discussion app. Basically, think IMDb, but not floated with bots and trolls. Like, that's where the movie nerds go. It's a slight bit of a hipster site.
And we've proven now that I'm the boomer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I really enjoyed it. It was enjoyable. I wouldn't say it was great by any means, but Russell Crowe gives a really good performance. He put on a lot of weight for this movie. Like, he is genuinely probably like 280. And Russell Crowe's a big dude anyway, but holy cow, he is a presence. And that's not like 280 of good, that's 280 of bad. He's fat, but it was intentional, and it was...
No, he's thick.
No, like it's thick with 3 C's and a K. It's bad.
Ouch.
Yeah. But it proves it works for the presence. It's part of the characterization of this dude who you kind of find out through subtext is recently divorced and has felt unrecognized his entire life. So he basically just decides to teach somebody what a bad day is like, and then go out via like suicide by cop, pretty much. But
what's the line from Killing Joke? It just takes one bad day.
Yeah, pretty much. But it was pretty good. It was brief. It was an hour and a half. Something that I think a lot of these types of movies miss is their structure is weird. Like, you get say Us, which I also enjoyed, but had a big structural difference, the Jordan Peele movie.
Yep.
Where at first it's really creepy and very, very strong, and it's set as a home invasion movie, and then like halfway through, the setting switches and it gets a lot less creepy. The ending's still really creepy, but like there's a big chunk there where they're outside in the daylight and it's not as imposing, and it just feels weird. I think this movie avoided that problem by constantly being moving. Also, literally, they're in cars nearly the entire movie. So they have a lot of different settings. Part of it's in a diner. Part of it is in her house. Part of it's in her mother's house. Like, it's a whole big deal. They're constantly moving. They're all over the city, and it takes place over, what is it? Probably like 2 or 3 hours. Like, it's end of school hours, basically. So I really enjoyed that. I would strongly recommend it. You don't have to think about it too hard.
Too late. I already have.
The visual effects were very strong, at least that I noticed. There are so many car crashes and so many explosions that look very convincing. There was no point where I actually went and that looks like a fake car. Every single time, like, holy shit, they just split that car in half.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right.
Very much liked.
I was at the bar the other day, and the bartender was trying to talk about it. He's like, "Oh, but are you guys planning to watch it?" And I'm like, "Maybe." He's like, "All right," and left. I was like,
"Yeah,
that's a cliffhanger."
It has. I wouldn't say it's like. It still has a theme, which it does work with, but it's nothing terribly profound. It's basically, be nicer to people and be more considerate. Like, don't be a total douche in traffic and cut people off and flip people off because you don't know what's going on the other side.
You first, buddy.
Pretty much. So in that sense, the protagonist still takes a message from the antagonist, but the antagonist's means are just way too far over the line. So in that sense, it does actually have a point, which I think it makes fairly well. It's just nothing stupidly profound. It's like, hey, be nice. We're all in this together. You know, that sort of deal. Have you been watching anything else?
Yeah, I started Hemlock Grove.
What is that?
It is, I believe it started as a Netflix original. It stars Funk Johnson, also known as Jean Grey in the X-Men movies. And
which one? The young one or the old one?
The old one. The original. She's also the bitchy wife in the Taken movies.
That is very true. She's very bitchy.
It is kind of like...
Oh, she is 100% the highest paid person on that cast.
Oh, yeah.
That's rough.
It kind of felt like a Twin Peaks slow burn start with 1,000% times too much teenage angst and high school drama and all that crap.
Which is funny because Twin Peaks has a good bit of that too.
Well,
that image has me interested though.
I never made it past the pilot of Twin Peaks.
But the new or the old Twin Peaks?
The original.
I actually like the new one more.
I didn't even know there was a new one.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I like the Twin Peaks episode of Psych. That is much better. Anyways.
I watched that one and said, I have no idea what's going on. It hints about there being werewolves and other people can transform into something, and I didn't make it too far because there was way too much teenage angst, and I was like, I'm bored.
So is it more of like a Riverdale angst or more of a Zack Snyder angst?
I'm gonna go Riverdale, even though I've never seen it.
That's rough.
So.
Oh, Riverdale is so shit.
I've never seen it,
That's
but
so bad.
I don't remember. I don't really know what you're talking about with Zack Snyder angst, so that means it was probably done right.
I mean, usually Zack Snyder's feelings and stuff get passed off as, like 12-year-old teenage boy angst. Like Zack Snyder movies are, by public consensus on the internet, I guess, the male equivalent of 14-year-old girls listening to Billie Eilish. I don't say I agree with that, but apparently that seems to be the consensus of you think it's deep because you're a child.
Nah, I've never felt that. So,
well, okay, I guess it's more like a Riverdale. Oof, that's rough. Now I'm interested. Have you been watching anything else?
Nope, that's it. We tied again.
Oh, wow, that's not good.
Colin, you can suck it. Oh, I also saw.
Oh.
Our main topic.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Use that as a point. So.
Which means we both have that point. So Colin still loses.
Yeah. That's how math works.
Yes. So, we have our main topic.
And I would like to start this segment off right here. I wrote this beautiful piece. I felt really inspired after watching our main topic. It reminded me of a story my father once told me about two bears that live in the theaters. I completely lost it because you were laughing.
Wherever you're going, I concur.
The good one represents love, puberty, and sexual confusion. The bad one, bad Kentucky accents, horror that isn't scary, and movies that are 90 minutes long and still feel boring. I might have those two backwards, but the point is, this movie made me wish I was hibernating.
Whew. I feel like I agree with all of your points to a lesser extent. Do you want to go first?
No, you go first, because that's pretty much all I have written down.
Dang. I will also read off my my Letterboxd review for this one. A stellar and diverse cast can't overcome minimal characterization and weak plotting. The effects are amazing, and the setting is fairly well utilized, but the lack of direction between the YA-based story, horror setting, and comic book roots is very frustrating, to say the least. Each scene felt solid and fleshed out with time to breathe, but overall it came off as too short for the dramatic payoff it tries to accomplish. So scenes feel okay, but they're nowhere near enough scenes. It feels really short and really long.
See, I kind of want to add to that because at the climax when the scary monsters we finally freaking see something that could be scary, and they're chasing them through the asylum or hospital or whatever the frig. Mm-hmm. It cuts to the bad guy trying to kill one of the main characters. I was like, it just got good. Show us the good stuff, not cut it with freaking boring conversation.
That I think the editing is an interesting conversation point because it sounded like, obviously, the New Mutants, which... Did I actually say that that's what we're talking about?
No, we're talking about the New Mutants.
Yeah, the New Mutants finally got released after
5 pushbacks.
Yeah, which is a total of freaking 2.5 years since it was supposed to come out.
Pretty close, yeah.
It got I believe filmed in early 2017, something like that. Dang, it's finally here. Some little note I did want to mention that the co-creator of most of these characters, the artist end, got credited incorrectly, and he's really pissed about that because he's like, hey, the movie wasn't total crap, but like you kind of whitewashed a few of these and they're not great, and also you couldn't even spell check my name after like 3 years of sitting around waiting to release it. So funny. He officially disowned it. That kind of sucks. But yeah, the New Mutants, the another wet fart for the X-Men franchise to end on. This is the second wet fart instead of ending on the massive like explosion that was Logan, and you couldn't end there. You had to release 2 more poops. Just 2 little pieces of crap.
What was the other poop?
Dark Phoenix.
Ugh. So actually the coasters for our drinks were printed for Dark Phoenix. I thought that was really funny.
That's nice. Do you have any positives about this movie that you enjoyed?
Yes. This is not the most boring X-Men I've ever seen.
I do agree.
Honest to goodness positives, though. There were attempts at scares in what should have been and what was kind of billed as a sort of horror movie.
Yeah.
I think if it hadn't been a PG-13 movie, if it had been R, I think they could have really had some decent scares in there.
I wanted to hit on that.
I think they could have actually pushed the scares more as a PG-13 movie.
I felt like they didn't. I don't want to say they were like. I think they were trying to push the PG-13 rating. It didn't feel like. I've seen far like. Most PG-13 like light horror movies don't even get close in like tone to this for the most part. Not necessarily the scares themselves and how like gruesome they are,
right.
But the general tone. I felt like they were trying to make it somewhat serious.
I guess the representation of the scares brought up the adult content.
I think that's part of the movie I actually did enjoy. Was the way in which, not necessarily how each like scare worked, because honestly there aren't that many.
Nope.
I think it builds fairly well. Like the suspense was solid for me anyway. Maybe it's just the way I look at it, but I thought the suspense was pretty good, and a couple of the scares were decent. Nothing made me jump. A few of them made me like move a little. I'm not looking to be like, piss myself. I'm not expecting that. It's also still half a superhero movie and partially a young adult movie. So,
but to be fair, you can't handle the slightest of scares in movies. So
okay, Bilbo in Fellowship of the Ring scares everybody.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Yeah, so I due to all of the time and apparently the weird reshoots that this movie had, but it sounded like a week ago, apparently they didn't actually end up using the reshoots or whatever.
I read that online as well.
And I didn't feel like there were any reshoots for this movie.
There was one that I caught right in the beginning.
It was the ADR, wasn't it?
No. Nope. It was when one of the main characters is trying to escape the asylum or hospital or whatever the frig, and is being told, yeah, just run away. And she's like flat out running, and she walks into the wall and starts bleeding from her nose. The nose blood changes in levels in like every shot for 10 minutes after that, and it pissed me off.
I mean, I remember you can see that she like wiped it and it kind of smeared across her cheek, but I didn't notice.
There were smears,
that.
And then there were like blood lines again, and then smears and blood lines, and then sometimes the blood lines were shorter, and sometimes they were longer.
I didn't notice that.
So I think that was the only reshoot that I really caught, except maybe the chase scene in the beginning, but that just felt like green screen.
Honestly, yeah, like the beginning, the first scene that got released, which I'm pretty sure I talked about, and Colin didn't even know what the hell ADR was.
I don't know.
That felt stupidly ADR heavy for a scene, which the rest of the movie, just because that I wanted to keep an eye on it, I didn't see a lot of ADR. Most of it seemed to have been like caught in scene pretty well on screen. But that first scene with her dad, his lips were barely matching with what he was saying.
Oh,
it was horrible.
Hadn't caught that. Yeah, I was thinking of like when they were running through the woods, and it looks like a 70s movie where they're walking on a treadmill in front of like it looks so bad.
I don't remember that, but I think that might have had to do with the fact of like the background that was going on at the time with the thing.
Yeah.
So that probably had something to do with it. But
definitely.
I definitely get what you mean. Yeah, the editing. It feels like this could have been, like, potentially shot to be R-rated, and they didn't decide what they wanted to do.
Yep.
It gave me light Venom vibes in that way. I honestly think this is a better movie than Venom, but in the terms of, like, it felt like they could have filmed more gruesome bits, and they cut away from a lot of it to maintain the rating.
I just wanted more action. There was so much talking that could have been cut, and it just felt like saying the same things over and over and over again.
A bit.
It just didn't go anywhere. It felt like we were going in circles. And then when the action finally started, they kept cutting in those same conversations, or like
that's true.
The bad guy saying, monologuing basically. Thank you, Incredibles. And it's like, we already know what you're doing. I think 20 minutes.
I think that the third act that you're talking about, I definitely feel that. I think the first two acts, at least for me, I thought I was okay with it having a lot of action. I didn't. Right. That didn't bother me. But
I can allow a movie to build in the first two acts, but
that's what I meant.
It has to be good.
Right, and I think the end fight itself, I did kind of like, but it did feel a little short. Not in the sense of like being. Like they cut it up. It just felt like they didn't want to overstay the welcome of like big third act battle with big CGI monster. So it feels like they made it intentionally a lot shorter than it could have been. So I appreciated that in that sense, and they definitely tried to be conservative with the amount of special effects that they used for the most part,
which is good.
I actually quite like the special effects. A couple of them didn't look super great to me, but most of them I really did like. A lot of the designs, and some of them were really janky, but for the most part, like the force fields and the sword and like the portals and stuff, I thought were all really good. Yep. I thought the big bad. We're all spoilers anyway. I thought Demon Bear looked pretty good for me anyway. I kind of liked the smoky appearance.
It gave me Parallax vibes, only I like Parallax better.
Ooh, you like Parallax more than... Ooh, that's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I see what you mean. I hate, like, the big cloud villains, but this one felt like it kind of warranted it, because it wasn't necessarily a cloud. It was, like, the shadow around what was physically there, but that's an opinion that doesn't really matter.
All right, so yeah, it makes more sense.
Because, I mean, Demon Bear in the comics wasn't usually just a big bear. Like, it did kind of have an ethereal stuff going on.
Parallax shouldn't have been a big cloud.
No, Parallax is a big old
Demon
insect.
Bear as a cloud makes sense. But I liked the effects of Parallax better than Demon Bear.
That's fair. I do get you there. On the note of Demon Bear, I like what they did with the build up in idea. I liked something I don't usually talk about. I actually quite liked the inclusion of the Native American culture part of it. There wasn't a lot of it, but I liked that they included it as like a forefront of the movie.
Yep.
That I did like. It didn't feel stupidly heavy-handed in that way, but the build up to what every single nerd knows, even if you've never touched a New Mutants book in your life, you can hear it. It sounds like a giant bear. It's a giant bear. Everybody knows it's a giant bear. So that build up felt really, really heavy-handed in that way.
I had no idea.
What? You didn't realize that the thing chasing her, making snorting sounds and running, is a bear.
I mean, I had an idea. Yeah, no,
but... Wow. Maybe I'm just weird.
Wow.
That part just felt a bit heavy-handed to me, but I did like how it was tied in. But the voiceover about the two internal bears, you're totally right. Oh my gosh, that's so bad.
It starts and ends with the voiceover.
And it's the only voiceover in the movie.
And it's pretty much the same line both times.
Yeah. It's like, I don't hate voiceover. I think voiceover can be used well, but it's nowhere else in the movie. Those two sections at the beginning and the end are the only times where we see exclusively, quote-unquote, from her perspective. The rest of the movie is fairly well split between the rest of the cast, so it's like, why are we only now hearing her thoughts? This is weird.
So I was fine with it in the beginning, but near the end, I'm like, all right, it's over. I can finally go home. And then she starts giving the line again, and I was like, are you kidding me?
I had the opposite experience. I knew it was in the beginning of the movie, but I felt like the beginning of the movie was...
you watched the first 2 minutes.
I felt like that's the more pretentious part. Like, the end is... It's still heavy-handed, but I felt like that at least worked for my liking more. In the beginning, it's like, and we're starting with pretentious voiceover. Great. Like
sounds like the start of Deadpool 3. Starting with pretentious voiceover.
Yeah. But actually, good segue. What did you think about the X-Men tie-ins? There was actually more in this movie than I was expecting.
So I went and saw this with my dad, and he was asking me what this movie was supposed to be. Is it supposed to be the characters at the end of Logan? I'm like, I didn't think there was any involvement. I turned out to be wrong. Apparently there's footage snuck in that I kind of caught, but it was like a 2-second shot from Logan. So my assumption is, without having done my research, is that these are the same batch of kids as the ones at the end of Logan, but not the same characters. Am I?
You could probably make an argument that way. I saw it more as the there's no reference to any sort of dates or anything like that in this movie, which I did like. But because it's the Essex Corporation, which was actually a bit of a reveal. I liked that reveal, even though that's what I thought it was gonna be.
I didn't know what that was.
I really, 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 really like Logan.
Please explain.
The Essex Corporation is the corporation that made X-23 and that other batch of mutants, those mutant kids in Logan. Yeah. So
I guess I haven't seen Logan enough. 3 isn't enough.
It's a minor detail you can miss. It's the name of the company, but it's the same corporation, and one would assume it takes place well after Logan, because like this facility is so much smaller, and it's only the one employee running this entire facility, because the whole thing was basically destroyed in Logan, or most of it.
That seemed to have the Deadpool effect of like when he goes to the mansion and there's only 2 X-Men there.
Yeah.
It seemed like
yeah. No.
The company couldn't afford any more doctors or anything.
Yeah, I did like the fact that they weren't stupidly on the nose about the fact that she's actually a mutant. I like, unless I'm interpreting it wrong, because like she can do
I think it took too long for them to show her doing the force
fields.
fields.
Because they showed it, but you can interpret it as her summoning to like the building, because you see all the monitors and the cameras, and she talks to the building.
Nah, I always took it as she was a mutant immediately.
I figured that's where they were going, but it felt like the way that they represented the force fields felt like the kids would think it's just part of the building security. Is what it felt like they were going for. But then in the end, near the end, where she's just making a bunch of force fields and then like crushing the kids with them, like, I like that they didn't have to go, oh, she's a mutant too. I like that they didn't have to do that, because that would have been insanely on the nose. This movie's already pretty on the nose.
Nah, I think you missed it. I think it was always assumed that she was a mutant by showing the force field, because like the very first time she does it, she's got her hand reaching out and
I thought it seemed more like a pointing thing, because every time they go in a room, they show you where the cameras are.
Right.
So I don't know.
It kind of bugged me when they drug the doctor with her tea, and she's like completely knocked out.
That was pretty funny.
2 things.
That's not how it works.
If she was drugged, they could have escaped instead of dicking around the asylum.
That's what I mean. I don't think because they had to take her out for the force fields, but they didn't realize that until afterwards, because like when they knocked her out, the force field is still there because she's still alive. So they couldn't have escaped, because they go out and then Wolfsbane and oh fudge, what is the protagonist's name? That's not good.
I don't freaking know.
Oh fudge. Danny, there we go. When Danny and oh man, that's not good. That's the problem. I don't hate the characters, but the names are hard to retain. Anyway, they go out
because we were sleeping.
I wasn't, but they go out and they just stare at the stars, and like the rain is pattering on top of the force field while she's apparently unconscious. So they couldn't have just escaped. They know some way, shape, matter, or form. Either she controls it, or some part of the building, or like a security person or whatever controls it.
Or it's an accidental writer got it right.
That is also definitely a possibility.
The other thing that bugged me about the doctor being drugged is that they need her to wake up. I forget why, but they run in and they like shake her awake, and she immediately like wakes up and is fine and starts running around.
Yeah, that's not how drugging
taking
works.
care of stuff.
I mean, if they gave her like an insanely high dose of melatonin, that's how it would work. But like everything else that would do that wouldn't just wake her up.
No, she'd be groggy for an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
At least.
Yeah.
So that made me laugh in a this is so bad it's good
I got a few
kind
of
way.
those chuckles in. What did you think about the approach to the fears of each of the kids, like what their powers and how they manifest and how they interact with their own demons?
Whoa, you're asking me, Mr. Literal, a heady question.
It's not even really it is a literal question because they become
I'm
their
really
fears become
to
a
answer
literal
this question.
Real thing.
Hang on, I gotta think about it. I thought it was so ham-fisted that even I got it.
Fair enough. I definitely agree with it being pretty ham-fisted for the most part, but for me anyway, the movie didn't come off as angsty.
It wasn't insulting.
No, that's something these sorts of deals usually come off as. It's like, ooh, we're gonna make puberty scary, or we're gonna make your mental health issues a superpower, or we're gonna make it like it's a demon in your own head. Like they can come across as kind of insulting, which even though
I want to say it before you do, I'm pretty sure that the Russian chick's fear had to do with assault.
Oh, 100%. That's something I did want to talk about. Because that's Colossus's sister.
What?
But I don't know if they're doing that, and because this universe isn't going anywhere, obviously. I don't think that they didn't mention it anywhere, but in the
I would
comics
like to
anyway.
see her pair up with Colossus. That would be pretty cool.
In the comics, they're siblings. I believe they were raised separately though. But yeah, I think don't want to say that that's the most subtle out of all of them, because I wouldn't say that, because it's still pretty goofy in terms of the puppet and her accent and like that sort of stuff. But the nature in which that she talked about it, of the whole they make me cry and I make them smile thing, was like, oh, I like that they left that scene alone.
Yeah.
When Danny goes in and
you fill in your own blanks.
Right.
You know what's going on, but they didn't show what happened.
Right. So it makes sense. It's like, oh, so she has the happy place with her imaginary friend, basically. And then because of the fact that she has powers in that place, her friend is alive. Like the dragon, which is not a magic character, like her name being magic. Like that's not, Lockheed's not usually hers. That's Kitty Pryde's dragon. So that was kind of weird.
I saw that online and went, wow, nobody cares.
Yeah, but I did think it kind of worked with what the character was doing. It was just one of the clumsy parts of it was like, I'm making fun of you for having a memento, as I'm literally talking to a manifestation that I make in my hand of my own mind. That felt lazy.
Yes.
You could have had her make more.
I liked it when the puppet came alive and was helping in
was
combat.
Fun. I did like that.
That was fun.
I liked the cute little dragon. That was cool.
Yeah. All right. So for fears, you had the coal miner. You had the assault. I don't know if I'm gonna cut this out or not, so I'm not gonna say that word. You had the bear.
Yeah. So you had
what were the other two?
Okay, so you had Cannonball, who is the boy from Kentucky. Hot damn, that accent is horrible.
Yeah.
I did like his character though. I
couldn't get past the accent. I was like,
that made it pretty tough.
Shut up.
The whole his fear of like dying in the coal mines because he accidentally killed his dad and like most of the crew. It was good. It makes sense for him. That was the only one where I'm like, there is nothing like creepy about this. It's scary.
The nightmare of who is it? Danny being in the coal mine. That was done fairly well.
I thought it was done well. I just didn't think that was creepy.
No.
It was definitely good, but that's what I mean. Like
it was his fear.
Right.
He
that's
was
what I mean.
scared of going back in a coal mine.
Right. So that makes sense. I mean, in terms of a horror movie, that was the one that felt a little out of place.
Yeah.
Was like, this isn't creepy.
It's
like
not a usual trope in a horror movie.
Right. It's traumatic. They're all traumas, but that one is very much so traumatic, not like scary.
Although I think it was Prom Night that had that as the main scare. Hang on, let me look.
That's whack.
The 1980 film starring freaking... I want to say Sigourney Weaver. Jamie Lee Curtis. And Leslie Nielsen.
Huh.
It's not very good. You won't like it.
I definitely won't.
But I'm pretty sure that's the one with the coal mine.
That's weird.
It was like one of 5 that came out in pretty much the same year.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That all felt like the same exact movie.
Oh.
But sometimes the hook was different. Like there was one on a train and.
Oh. Huh.
I'll find out.
Yeah. So you have, and then you have Ileana Magic, who was
assaulted.
Yeah. Consistently. That one was. I did like the whole they're kind of like Slenderman thing. I think that was one of the effects that didn't look super great, and like
that was one of my favorite things of the movie.
I mean, I liked it, but I think like the actual polish of the level of effect on that one was really bad. But I did like the design, and I liked how they were slow and they were just like walking around, but they were still freaky as hell. And the laugh was really creepy. I did like that.
Yep.
So that's her thing, and then you have Roberto, who is I think it's Firestorm. I don't remember his actual quote unquote actual name. He gets really hot and has super strength, and he was doing things with his girlfriend and he burned her alive.
That's what it was.
That was the freakiest scare in the movie for me. That I don't know why it didn't like make me jump, but
they didn't show anything. It was like one line about it.
No, did you not see the scene in the pool? Not him doing it, but like his when Danny's powers start getting out of control. No, the scene in the pool. That was the creepiest scene in the whole movie for me. I don't know why. That sort of stuff just creeps me out. Water creeps me out. Colin agrees with me on that one. I like the ocean. I like lakes. I like water, but like water can be used really creepily. And as soon as they're like, turn out the lights. Oh boy, here we go.
I was wrong. It isn't prom night. It's My Bloody Valentine in 1981.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about now. Yeah. So
close.
I liked. I did kind of like that one. I like how he didn't talk about it, and I liked how his bravado was a facade, obviously, like for that experience. I thought that was pretty well done. Weird note on that. Why is the rich snobby kid the one doing the dishes and making the food? That is so weird. You'd think it would be the kid from Kentucky. Like, you'd think it would be the redneck kid who kind of had to like fend for himself and go work. But no, the rich kid who hates everybody and is literally throwing away his clothes is the one cooking and doing the dishes. That was just really weird. I guess it gave him another character trait aside from being douchey and Italian, or Spanish or whatever
I think we're still missing a fear.
I'm just going through the list. And then you had Wolfsbane, who is, what is her actual name? Dang it. It's weird when I remember either the character name or the superhero name, and I don't remember both. Anyway, you have Wolfsbane, who can turn into a wolf. And she's
plot twist.
Yeah, she's Catholic. Was beaten by a priest and branded. I did like that one.
Oh yeah.
I would say it was still pretty clumsy, but like I did like that one. I liked the couple of scenes they had in the chapel. I don't know, it felt consistent with her character writing, for me anyway. And yeah, and then you have Danny, who is basically just petrified of, like, she just has like that massive underlying fear all the time, hence why it manifests as like basically an entire other persona outside of her control.
So looking at the list, these are some random ass fears.
They are, but they all felt. They felt like they fit in with the young adult tone for me anyway. They were a bit clumsy, and they were, I would say, definitely a random grab bag. But for each character, what they were trying to go for made sense. It's just that when you put them all together, it feels weird. But individually, I think they were all good choices. It's just the mixture of them is really weird. I don't know.
Cool. Anything else that...
I had one...
I never knew that 93 minutes could feel so long.
I actually thought it went by pretty quickly.
I was kind of laughing. I think it was the terrible Kentucky accent guy that literally punches himself out. He just like fist across the face and he falls to the floor. Yeah. I started laughing because that was pretty much what I was doing in the theater, just trying to stay awake. Like, wow. Oh, please.
Dang. That...
My showing was at 6:30 at night.
And your bedtime is like 7:45.
Yeah, but the movie ended at 7:30.
Yeah. Yeah, that I still liked his character. Like I said, I think the scares on his end weren't very scary, but I did like his character, like that constant like guilt, standoffishness. I just thought that was kind of well done. But yeah, I did actually like this movie. I'm talking a lot of trash. I don't think it's amazing. I would say it's decent.
Will you buy it on Blu-ray?
That's a good question. I think I might, because I'd say it's the upper echelon of the quote-unquote bad X-Men movies.
Will you buy it on DVD instead?
No, I will buy it on Blu-ray. Dang.
I think that's a good a way of separating how good or bad this movie was.
That's true. That's not a bad scale.
I don't think I would rewatch it.
I don't think I'd rewatch it that much, and it's certainly not amazing. Like I said, I think it's really the fact that it's trying to go in 3 different directions that really makes all of them feel undercooked. But yeah, both of the accents, the Kentucky accent and the Russian. I think the Russian accent actually pissed me off more than the Kentucky one.
Really? I thought she got away with it.
No. Have you actually heard?
It was a little heavy.
Have you heard an actual Russian female? They don't sound like that.
Yes, I have actually. I worked with one.
Most of them don't sound like that. They don't sound like cartoon characters.
It was a cliche Russian accent instead of realistic.
It was very, very cliche. And I thought that I didn't like the Kentucky one, but it felt closer to what I've heard from real people. I don't know. Anyway, the accents were pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was alright. I think it's a step up from Dark Phoenix.
Yes. Yep.
I think Dark Phoenix has more...
Which is weird because Dark Phoenix had more action.
I think Dark Phoenix did better at what it did, but I think New Mutants had more potential and utilized a little bit more of it. Dark Phoenix already kind of... Yeah, it's also limited to the X-Men formula, which it wasn't going to be able to stray away from. So, how about...
It's still not as bad.
Don't say it.
Go ahead. You fill in my blank.
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Wow. I hadn't even considered that one.
Which one are you talking about?
X-Men Apocalypse.
I don't put Apocalypse that far down.
Oh.
It's like tied for Dark Phoenix.
That's the only one I haven't finished.
Really? Wow. We should, since we have some time, we're going to do a definitive ranking of all of the Fox X-Men movies.
Why do we hate ourselves?
Because I do.
I've finished X-Men Origins twice.
I have watched it way more than I should. That's a guilty pleasure movie. 100% guilty pleasure movie. I was also like 9 when I saw it, and I was super into it until I was like 14.
And then realized how wrong it was. Also, so I kind of watched that one because it has Gambit in it. We need our freaking Gambit movie.
I really would have liked that Channing Tatum Gambit movie. They were literally about to start filming. I really would have liked that. So we're gonna go with 3. So we're not gonna do a definitive ranking because that takes time and we have to think about it. Let's be on our feet. We have really good X-Men movies. We have okay-ish to like good, and we have the bad ones. Just 3 categories. What do you think about the first X-Men movie?
I think it's been too long since I've watched most of these. I think we should come back next week.
Fine.
Or maybe in a month when we can all
Colin, I don't even think Colin has even watched half of these.
Oh my gosh.
Anywho's.
I know that I have a very unpopular opinion.
Oh. On what? What is it?
Days of Future Past is one of my favorite X-Men movies.
What the f*** is wrong with you? That's like the general consensus by most people. Most people really like it.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was one of the more hated ones by the internet gods.
No. I don't like it, but most people that I've seen and most of the ratings and reviews on most aggregate sites are very positive. I really don't like it.
Wolverine Origins is in its own box over in the corner with
That's the guilty pleasure box.
It's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
But we can't put any more X-Men movies in that box.
No, that's the X-Men Origins Wolverine box.
Yeah.
The X-Men Origins Wolverine box. It's a very big box for that big ass title.
Subtitle, so bad it's good.
Yes.
All right. Any more thoughts on New Mutants?
Not really. I really like the posters, not gonna lie. The posters and the ads looked a bit better than the movie was.
Yeah, they sold it as a horror movie, and I was excited.
I mean, I knew it wasn't gonna be a full-blown horror movie. There was no way that was gonna happen.
Yeah, we knew that, but I was expecting a scare.
They definitely used most of the creepy stuff in the marketing.
For crying out loud, use a cheap-ass jump scare.
That is something I will say. They didn't have
a cheating jump scare.
There was the one with when Cannibal like touched the laundry machine. That one was a bit of a jump scare. It was definitely different in the marketing. They edited that differently.
I guess I can give you that one.
Yeah, no, most of them I was kind of expecting. It feels like a jump scare-ish type of movie. A lot of, ooh, the door's opening, what's behind the door? But they didn't really do any jump scares. Like one or two, maybe.
That usually happens in failed horror movies is like, you see so many set up for jump scares and it turns out to be nothing.
That's true.
Like, just give me a freaking scare.
Valid point.
So in closing.
Yeah, it's aight. I'm probably gonna buy it. I like the potential, and it's. I just think it's neat, but it's definitely not great.
Nope.
Definitely not great.
But go watch it and support your local movie theater if they're open.
Yeah, this movie, Disney is definitely throwing this movie under the bus. They just went, fuck it, get it out there. It's not even. It didn't even crack $100 million. Didn't even crack $1 million this weekend.
Oof.
That
is a big oof.
Yeah, it like the full 4-day weekend, it might hit like 2.5. This movie's not gonna make any money. It's going to be nothing but a freaking bomb. But I'm pretty sure they had to like technically release it in theaters.
How much did they spend on it?
That's a good question, actually. I'd gonna guesstimate $50 million budget, not including marketing, obviously.
Also, it was kind of amazing to see Anna Taylor-Joy freaking hyphenated name.
Anya Taylor-Joy. $67 million estimated.
Well, look at you.
Oh, it's made $3 million so far, apparently. Really? Are you sure about that?
And it's only been out for 2.5 days.
Still, it's not going to make any freaking money.
How marketing-wise, her age finally caught up to her.
Kind of has. She actually looks like she's like 20.
An adult now.
Yeah, she actually looks like 22.
Yeah, and she's 2 years younger than me, so.
Weird. That is actually, they kind of did feel like teenagers for me.
Except for Anna Taylor-Joy.
She felt a little bit. She felt a little bit older, but she didn't feel it's like you know, Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie high school students. Like they did feel pretty
close to the.
They felt like
age.
They could be seniors or in college.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the end of the New Mutants.
New Mutants. Great big meh.
Yeah.
So socials.
Yep. So some actual housekeeping.
Housekeeping.
Yeah,
I forgot about housekeeping.
I'm gonna need to do that every time now. So we are currently, as we noted at the beginning, it is just Jacob and I. So we are sharing one microphone, if anybody cares. We're
sitting very close to each other.
Yeah, he's really into that.
He's not touching me though.
No, I'm not.
And I'm not touching him.
Nope. So we're currently using an acoustics rig that I put together haphazardly.
With super glue and string?
Basically with staples and some frickin' thread.
And a big-ass 2-inch thick blanket over our heads.
No.
Oh.
No.
Well, I can imagine.
Okay. Anyways, so we're gonna probably be using something along these lines, whether we fabricate something similar, use this, or remodel it in the future for the three of us. And then when Jacob goes away on his trip for a very long time, it'll be Colin and I using this, and Jacob will have to figure out his own rig.
Also, spoilers, I'm going away on a long trip.
I mean, you mentioned that.
Yeah, but I cut it out.
Oh, you did?
I told you I cut it out.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah, Jacob's going to be going away for 9 months.
5 or 6 months.
I thought it was 9.
No.
What?
Yeah.
I'm weird.
It's only 5 months, but I'm hoping to be extended, so.
Oh. And when are you leaving?
November.
So we have like 7 episodes until then.
Yeah, pretty close.
Somewhere in that range.
9. 8 or 9.
Whatever. We've got a few more episodes until then. So we will be using this acoustic rig moving into the future. We are also officially on Spotify. So you can find us on YouTube, where we do have videos of all of our podcasts, and we are on Spotify. I am currently in the process of getting us onto Apple Music. It is a little bit of a headache, not gonna lie. Apple is pretty dumb.
So I would like to take this time to complain about having an Apple account, because I've sworn for years that it is more secure than my bank account and my Steam account. And Steam, you have to have a freaking fingerprint to log in.
That is very true.
So Apple, calm down.
Yeah, they do a bit of an overkill on the security. And there are like 15 different types of accounts that they have. It's really annoying.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's what it's being so painful for me to get through all of it.
How about Google Podcasts?
That's a good question. I will also submit for Google Podcasts and Amazon Podcasts as well while I'm there. So whenever we get live on a different service, we will update you guys. For the 2 people who are listening, and Colin. No, we're just lying. Colin's not going to listen to us when he's not here.
How about Anchor?
No, goodness no.
How about...
Are you just going to list off every service in existence?
I was going to.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so you can listen to us on Podbean. That is our hosting service. You can download their app and just listen right on there.
That was my next one.
Yeah, and then they publish us into Spotify and hopefully Apple Music, and we're probably just going to stay with those 2 as well as YouTube. And
because really, nobody else uses.
Not really, no.
None of the other services are, used by anybody.
Not much.
I mean,
Spotify even Apple
Apple.
Right, and even Apple Music. A lot of people on Apple devices still use Spotify. Like Colin, he has Apple devices, but he uses Spotify, even though they're nearly the same thing.
That's because Colin's special.
Colin is definitely special. So that is in the works. We, as mentioned last podcast, but to be very clear, we are officially weekly.
Yay!
So whenever you listen to each podcast, it has been roughly 1 week since we recorded. So please forgive us if there is new news. We're not trying to be the most up to date. We're trying to be thorough.
Like Henry David Thoreau.
Yep. So we are uploading weekly, and that is going to be staying like that forever until all 3 of us are dead.
Or we quit because we keep our 3 listeners for lifetime.
I mean, or if we just get so pissed and we kill each other.
Or Colin gets married and
ew.
And Jody has a kid, and I was trying to make a Summer of '69 reference, but
goodness. Alrighty, that is about all we have for housekeeping. So we are weekly. We're on Spotify. Nice and simple.
I'm here to complicate things. Anything else?
How
to contact us.
Yeah, I was about to plug the social. So you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, as well as Twitter, or send us an email at dimecomicbros@gmail.com. We do, meaning me, I handle all the social stuff, post some different teasers of what our upcoming topics are going to be, as well as some behind-the-scenes photos when we are recording, as well as links to all of the new podcasts when they get uploaded. So maybe give us a follow, and maybe send us an email if you're really bored.
I want to hear your hate mail. Please hate on me. Anything else?
That's it.
That's it?
That's all I've got.
So, I don't have a closing joke.
Colin.
My father told me once that there are 2 bears.
Big over the top, really. What do you? Nothing. Are you on IMDb?
Yes.
What sketchy things are you finding on IMDb?
I was trying to find out if I've seen the Enchantress in anything else.
Yeah,
and
probably.
I found that, and I definitely haven't seen her in that, but that was quite a shock.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Remember to cut that. I mean, kind of having a hard time right now, thinking about words and stuff.